Greetings, Lord of the Rings fans. You guys better fucking like Lord of the Rings, man. That shit is great. I was watching the scene where Gandalf dies. Fucking emotional shit, man. I forgot how bloody good it was. I think because of my knowledge of mythology now, and the fact that I've done a lot of just general research out of curiosity and interest into mythology, into history, medieval type fantasy stuff, I can really appreciate the way the Lord of the Rings movies depicted the books. I haven't read the books yet, I know, hands up for that, but I'm going to get around to it. But Jesus, the scenery, the look of the whole film is just beautiful. Social media is a waste of time, okay? It is a waste of time, and I only came to that conclusion today. I've always had an inclination to say that social media is a waste of time because you're not meeting people face to face. People aren't being their true selves online. Okay, it's a lot easier to fake who you are online because there isn't that immediate response or immediate accountability on social media. I found this with a lot of things. I used to have a friend who, on social media pretended to be a badass and this fucking, excellent douchebag, and then in person he'd be the most timid dude on earth. It was just pathetic to see how different people present themselves versus, online / in real life. But it's a waste of time for another reason, not just because you're not making genuine connections with people, because subconsciously you're comparing yourself to everyone on there. Okay? Everyone puts the best version of their lives on social media. I do it. Okay, of course I do. I post, I occasionally post pictures, memes, stories of whatever on my Instagram. Okay? And I do it to show the best parts of my life. I don't show the bad parts or the negatives. I just show the positives, right? And even when I was, a bit of a social recluse, like let's say 2015, 2016, I'd still post the best version of myself, also I thought, on Instagram, and I didn't even know the kind of impression that I was making of myself. I didn't even realise. Because all of a sudden, when I was meeting people that I hadn't seen for 5-6 years, and they were just following my Instagram stories, following my posts, and then they saw me in real life, they treated me so differently to when they treated me before. Because they saw pictures of this cool guy who's always going out on adventures, who's always meeting new people, who's always travelling, right? That's all they saw. They always saw me smiling, they always saw me happy, and oh, Jesus. I don't take a fucking picture of that, do I? Me falling over. But they always saw the best version and the benefits of my life. They never saw the negatives. So when they saw me, they almost treated me like a celebrity. People that I never would have thought would treat me that way did. And I didn't realise the power of social media, the power of Instagram, on how it influences people to see you in a different light. Now, it can be used as a benefit, of course, because at the end of the day, Instagram, social media, it's your personal brand. You're making your personal brand, you're advertising yourself. But there's the trap that a lot of people fall into. I made a video just previously about male validation and why it's a danger. You should not fall into the trap of accepting or even giving validation. Okay? Because you become a slave. You become a slave to other people and their opinions and their reactions of you, and they have an influence over you now. Remember that. If anybody has an influence over you, it means you are in a position of weakness. That's not, it's not a rule for all, okay? It doesn't really, it doesn't go for every type of situation. Your friends, for example, have influence over you, and if they're good, positive friends and they want to see the best for you, that's a good type of influence. You shouldn't get rid of that, and you shouldn't be ashamed of that. In fact, that's a good thing. I've got a friend, very good friend, known him for a few years now, and he always bigs me up when I'm doing something good. He always says that's a very good thing. You're on the right path. You're doing great. I'm really proud of you. That makes me feel good. I like that because he's a trusted friend. I big him up as well. When he does great stuff, I always congratulate him for his accomplishments. And I always, when he's down, I always give him the counsel and the support. He does the same for me. He does it in a different way, but he does the same for me. But if let's say I'm slacking a bit. Let's say I'm being around the bush about a certain problem that I have, and I speak to him. He cuts through the bullshit and he doesn't give a shit about my feelings. He just says it how it is. And I appreciate that because that's constructive criticism. Okay? He's not being a dick. There's a lot of people out there who'd say you're being a dick. I don't see it that. I see it as he's cutting out the flattery and getting straight to the point at why there's a problem, and he's giving me a constructive way of fixing the problem. I really like that. Yes, sometimes it hurts, because sometimes he just cuts right through the bullshit and says it how it is, but he's not doing it in a demeaning, negative way. He's not saying, let's say I've got a problem like with my fitness. I'm like, bro, I've been going to the gym, haven't lost any weight, I'm feeling shit about myself. And then, let's say a negative person will say, oh, well, you should probably quit, I guess you're just not cut out for it. Or another negative person will probably say, oh, you're just lazy, you just need to go to the gym more. He will say you're lazy. He'll say you're lazy because you're not doing enough reps. You're not doing enough sets. You're not doing the hypertrophy. You're not doing it right. He'll ask me, how long do you go to the gym for? 40 minutes. Okay, what do you do? And I say, I do my bench. I do the machines. He says, okay, stop doing the machines. They're good for resistance. They're good for toning. But stop doing the machines. Don't rely on the machines for building muscle and losing weight. It doesn't work that way. They're good for building definition because they're resistance, but you should be working on compound lifts. Always be doing the compound lifts because they're the ones that burn the fat and build the highest amount of muscle, especially if you do them at higher weights. If you do heavier weights, you will activate the hypertrophy mechanism. I don't know how to pronounce the word, but that's how it's done. He'll just cut through the bullshit and he'll tell me how it is. I really appreciate that. People like that are good for you because they're there to offer counsel and advice to make your life better. That's a different kind of influence. But other people who aren't in your inner circle, who perhaps haven't got your best interests at heart, you should not be relying on their opinions or their interests or anything to do about you. You should not even take it into consideration. Okay, again, constructive criticism is that's fine. Constructive criticism's fine. But most people won't give you constructive criticism. Most people will give you negative feedback because they just want to feel good about themselves. Most people are insecure. You have to remember that. Most men are insecure. Took me a while to realize this. There's very few men who are fully confident out there. Very few men, which is why as I'm going through, it's not even in the past tense anymore. As I'm going through my self-development journey, I find myself becoming more confident. I find myself becoming more assertive. I find myself being more extrovert. I'm an introvert. I like being an introvert. Don't get me wrong. But I find it easy now to talk to people who are strangers. I find it easier to open up to them. Obviously, I don't tell them my life story, but I just find it easier to communicate valuable information which is going to benefit the conversation or the relationship for that short time being. So I'm developing my extroverted function, basically. It's not my dominant function. My dominant function is introversion, but I'm developing the extroverted part of me. And that's brilliant. That's great because I have now seen, as I develop my internal attributes, as I develop my subconscious behaviors, as I'm realizing the certain flaws that I have, and I'm fixing them, I'm presenting to the world a very valuable, confident man. I didn't even know how far I'd come. This is the beauty about self-development, is that you are grinding every day on your self-development journey, right? You're doing your workouts, you're doing your meditation, you're doing your cold showers, you're eating healthy, you're reading, okay? You're reading, you're consuming good information, you're doing your work, you're doing your grind, whatever it is. You're doing that every day and you're not necessarily seeing the results. You're not necessarily seeing the results. And there's days where you lose motivation. There's days where you just don't feel like doing it. There's days where you just feel like giving up. There's days where you just want to be lazy. Bro, this whole journey that we're on, you have to remember, is a delayed gratification. The whole thing is a delayed gratification. What is semen retention? Semen retention is basically, or nofap, if you want to call it that as well. They are two different things to kind of Semen retention is basically you retain your semen whilst having sex. So you can have sex, but you just retain your semen. NoFap is abstaining from porn, masturbation, and orgasm. So that semen retention is in PMO if you think about it, but not really. It's complicated. Point being, the whole thing is about delayed gratification. You hold your seed in. You hold your seed in. You abstain from degenerate things. You know, like touching the monkey downstairs, for example. You don't do that because you're not going to get the instant gratification. But by doing that, you hold in your seed. You harness the energy, the masculine aura, the masculine energy, your life force. You harness that. You keep that in. The longer you keep it in, the more powerful you feel. The more in control of your life you feel. The more dominant you feel. The more your will to succeed just quadruples. And you don't necessarily see the results though. You might feel good on some days. Here's how it's been for me. I will feel good on certain days. I'll feel confident. But I won't necessarily see results. I won't necessarily see superpowers, as people call them. Superpowers. You call them superpowers at the beginning because you've been living a lifeless life for most of your existence, for most of your adult life, most of your teen life. You've lived a lifeless existence because you've been dulling yourself through PMO. But then when you get rid of that shit, when you return back to your natural essence, it feels like superpowers because you're like, oh my god, I feel great. I feel in control again. This is a superpower, right? No, it's not superpowers. That's just who you are. You're being yourself now, which is beautiful. I love it. I love it. In fact, yesterday was probably one of the best days I've had since I've been on the semen retention because I just felt great. I had a massive shift in consciousness, as I talked about in the last video. I don't know what happened, but during the meditation, my whole body just felt extremely light. I just felt like I knew everything about myself, in the sense that I was watching myself, and I was completely in an observation mode. It was beautiful. I loved it. My whole body had this temperature change. There were rushes of cold, rushes of hot. You know, it was just sifting all the way through my body, right from head to toe. At some points, literally, it felt like I wasn't even in my body anymore. It just felt like I was just pure consciousness, pure awareness. My body just didn't exist anymore. That was really funny, but it was also very, very interesting. I don't think I'd be able to reach these states of meditation if I was fapping, honestly. I think the added retention of my vital seed and abstaining from instant gratification and dopamine fixes every single day, it's really changed my life. Really, really has. And I don't think it's a placebo, man. I don't think it's a placebo. If it is a placebo, it's one of the greatest placebos on earth. Okay? It's one of the greatest ones because it does its job, it does its work. Damn. Whew. Seriously, it's absolutely fucking great. It doesn't even feel like I've ever watched porn. It's been so long since I've done that now. It's been 35 days, which isn't that long, but it feels like a lifetime. It doesn't even feel like I ever did it now. It just feels like I've always been doing this. It's, you know, sometimes I do get the urge. Yes, I do. Because I get a flashback. That's what it is. I get a flashback of a video or an incident or an emotion that takes me back to the days where I was fapping. But it's not strong anymore. The urge to do that isn't strong because the urge for success, the urge for a real life companion, the urge for real friendships, the urge for success in business and generally my life, that urge is much stronger now. I've discovered things about myself which I never knew about myself before. For example, now I realise how interested I am in motorbikes. I'm really interested in motorbikes and I want to get one, and that's motivated me to finally do my CBT, which is it's basically a little qualification that you do, a certification that you get for riding a moped. It's motivated me to do that and then go ahead with the whole process of getting my motorbike license. I'm then going to get a really, really cheap light motorbike and I'm going to ride that baby across the world. That is one of my goals. I want to do a motorbike journey across Europe. I'm going to start off with Europe. I'm eventually going to do the world. But damn, That only happened when I was on semen retention. My motivation to get my passion and purpose in order, it hits me every day. It hits me every day, like 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. So it's not early. I am a night owl. Even on semen retention, I'm a night owl. I feel the most productive at night. That's not to say that the day isn't when I'm productive. I just use the day for relaxation, to be honest. A lot of my work, I do spend like 4 or 5 hours of work in the night. I feel like I can get more done. I don't know what it is. Might change, who knows. But my passion, I want to get my passion in order. You know, I was trying to think about it. All right, I'm definitely going to set my own business up. I'm not going to be an employee for the rest of my life. I'm going to set my business up. I'm really interested in psychotherapy. I want to be a psychotherapist. And I was trying to look for different avenues of me getting into that field, whilst at the same time being able to have my own business and practice to go with it. So my original plan was to get a master's degree in psychology, because I'm doing a history degree right now, so I need to do a conversion course. And once I've done the conversion course, I can then do a doctorate in clinical psychology. So I will be a doctor. And then I was thinking, okay, after I've got my doctorate, then I'll work as a clinical psychologist with the NHS or with a private practice for a bit, until I have enough money to now start my own business up, my own practice up, and then from there on I'll decide what I'm going to do. But now I realise, well, that's going to take around 10 years. That's going to take 10 years of that kind of work. Is that worth it? That was the thing going through my mind. Is that worth it? There's perhaps an easier way to do it. There's probably a faster way to do it. I could become a qualified psychotherapist, a psychotherapist counsellor, and I can have my own clinic, my own practice. I can have that off the bat. I can have that going, within a few years. If I save up enough money, I can already get it done. And the funny thing is it doesn't cost that much to get the license. And it doesn't cost that much to do the whole training program. So that was one of my options, and I was doing a lot of research about that yesterday. Again, this is semen retention, guys, because it gives you this drive. It gives you this drive, this motivation to get shit done. You just want to get your life in order. You feel pissed off sometimes. You actually get pissed off. You're like, oh fuck, I've not done anything. I've got so much to do and I've done nothing. What the hell am I doing with my life? And you just get the fuck up and you do it. That's what I love about it. You get the urge to do it. Your urge to fap is transmutated in the urge to do actual shit in the real world. Same with a real life woman. You'll see a girl. You actually find women attractive now. You find them very attractive. Before you saw them as sex objects. This is what I realised. You used to see women as sex objects when you were fucking constantly fapping every day. Now on semen retention, when I look at women, I see a very beautiful human being that I would love to get to know. I'd love to spend time with. I want to appreciate. And the funny thing is, I want to spend more time doing courtship activities rather than the actual sex. So courtship is like holding hands, hugging, kissing, shit like that. It's like non-penetrative sex. That is more fun to me now than the actual sex itself, because that's where you build a connection. You build the intimacy through those activities. Whereas before, I was just thinking, how can I get in her pants? What's the quick way, the quick fix that I can get in her pants? Even if a woman was attracted to me, I didn't know how to go about it, because I was just thinking, how do I get into her pants? What's the right thing that I can say that's going to make her drop her panties and I'm going to want to get inside there? That's what I used to think when I was on porn. Unrealistic expectations, my friends. Unrealistic expectations. The way you get inside the pants, if that's your end goal, is to genuinely treat the woman like a human being. You treat it like a human being, a human being you find attractive, and you express your interest through physical touch, through words, through your demeanor, through your voice, through your eye contact, and you make it fun. You make it a fun experience. You make it comfortable and safe for her. And when you do all those things, eventually she's going to do it. She's going to be down with you. All you have to say is, let's go back to ours. Because you build intimacy. That's the thing. That's what you don't get when you're on porn. You don't build the intimacy. You just want the orgasm. You just want the sex. And you don't even really want the sex. You just want the ejaculation. That's it. That's all you want. You just want a human doll, which you can then ejaculate inside of. That's all you want. You don't want to build intimacy, and you don't want to build a connection with the woman. You don't express your desire in a congruent way. You do it in a very robotic way, because all you want is the sex. You don't want the human being behind it. When you want the human being behind it, the woman appreciates that and she will gladly submit to you because you are an attractive man. Okay, this video has gone on for too long. I hope I've gotten the main ideas out. I haven't really got anything more to say, to be honest. Take care. I'll be back with another one very soon.